Reaching out an unsung ghost, the quiet specter, reaching round some welcome host, the stone's protector, crying arms and smiling face, put back together, seeming harmless, better days, it stays forever, it stays forever, it stays forever, it stays forever.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's 6 p.m., so you know we're live. This is the Fort Fights podcast. My name is Clint Davis. That was a band that most of you may know. I don't know. Hell, everybody knows them. Solidify. That's a band called Solidify. There was a song called Unsung Ghost. If you want to find Solidify, you can track them down on Facebook at Solidify Band OK. Or you can go to solidifyband.com. And if you find them on Facebook, make sure you like the page while you're there. Let me tell you about what Solidify has going on. They're coming up. They've got a show coming to Tulsa. They've got the New Year's Masquerade Bash. Let me tell you who's going to be there. I've got Grind, Fist of Rage, Sovereign Dame, and Solidify. That is going to be at Blackbird on Pearl. That's at 1336 East 6th Street in Tulsa. So just a short drive. Just go up to Tulsa. When I go to Tulsa, I see my mom and dad. I've got family there. So, it's not – I may be up there around that time. I know I'm going to be broadcasting the Tournament of Champions at ORU at the Mabee Center for Muldrow High School. Their basketball, we're going to have some games up there. And so I'm going to be busy over the Christmas break. And so I'm thinking about stopping by. Let me tell you how easy this is, okay? It's going to be on December 30th. But it's as easy as a $5 cover. All right? So if you show up, Blackbird on Pearl, it's a $5 cover, 7 p.m. The doors open. 8 p.m. is when the show starts. You got to be 21 to get in. So if you're listening, you're not 21, don't show up. It won't turn out well for anybody, and don't put a club owner in that kind of position. So you can see Solidify on December 30th. And let me tell you something about some of these guys. I don't know if I know all of them, Craig, Stephen, Garrett, John, and Tyler. I know Stephen for a fact, and I think I know Craig too. I think I played one of his guitars one time. But they've got a song, and I'm not going to tell you which one it is, but I was listening to this song across the street while these guys were in their garage before Solidify was Solidify. And so I've been listening to this music for quite a while, a few years now, and I like these guys. I like keeping up with them, and I think you'll like them too. So if you make your way up to Tulsa, that's going to be how you can find those fellas. And when we close out the show today, we're going to have more music from the Violet Hour. Probably my favorite song. It's called Lighter Fluid, and I don't know where the Violet Hour can be found right now, except if you go online, you can find them at theviolethourBand.com. As I mentioned, this is the Fort Fights podcast on blogtalkradio.com. That's right, I'm out of the Spreaker realm, back on Blog Talk Radio for the first time in about 3 years. We used to do this a long time ago. We talked MMA. We are brought to you by todayinfortsmith.com, my personal project, along with Dennis McCaslin. And we are presented by Soars Hell Entertainment and sponsored by Southern Trading and Pawn. Southern Trading and Pawn is located at 4621 Towson Avenue in Fort Smith. They're at the corner of Towson and Phoenix. I don't know why I'm so nervous right now. I think it's probably because we're going to have – look, we've got a packed show. We're going to have Slammin Sammy Rogers on the show. Sammy has been I'm telling you, I thought I'd been through hell, but when I found out what Sammy Rogers has been through in the last year – I started to kind of sit back and think, man, my life's a little bit easier than I thought it was. So we're going to talk to Sammy Rogers a little bit. Also, later on, we're going to talk to, for the first time in 3 years, we're going to talk to United States Martial Arts Hall of Famer Gregory Squirrel, ring announcer extraordinaire. You guys all know him and you love him. We used to co-host for a little while, maybe about a year or so. I jumped on with Greg on the Greg Squirrel Show on Blog Talk Radio, and man, did we have a great time. I remember one show he shocked himself with an electric fly swatter live on the air. Can't make this stuff up. And hopefully that doesn't happen again. But we'll talk to Greg Squirrel in a while. But we are waiting on Sammy Rogers. He just called me a little bit ago, and he said, hey, I've been training. I'm cutting weight, sweating my ass off, not eating right, dehydrating my – no, he didn't go into details. But you guys, some of y'all know what weight cut is all about. You guys know what this takes to do it. And so Sammy has literally been working his ass off to get down to his fight weight. And so we'll talk to him about that here in just a second. I did mention Southern Trading and Pawn, and that is located at 4621 Towson Avenue. Go see Vernon and everybody out there. We'll mainly talk to Vernon. But let me give you a little tip. I gave you this tip on the last show, and I want to give it to you again because someone almost got Vernon with a stun gun the other day. Poor Vernon, man. Geez, we're going to have to put this kid in a bubble. If you take it's a pawn shop, okay? So if you take a weapon in there, a weapon of any kind, I don't care. It could be a crossbow, a harpoon. I don't care what it is, 9mm. Don't take it in there loaded, people, and then point it at him and try to show it to him. Help Vernon out. He's got a very small son who needs his father in his life. So don't do anything stupid that's going to take Vernon out of this world. He's very talented. I don't know if you guys have seen him. He plays the piano. He sings. He's been doing it for a lot of years. And everybody loves Vernon. I don't know who doesn't love Vernon. In fact, his very lovely lady, Jordan, if she doesn't stop dragging her feet, and she needs to hurry up and marry this guy. And just figured we'd throw that out there live on the air. And anyway, if you need to call Vernon, get a hold of him out at the pawn shop, 479-434-4830. That is Southern Trading and Pawn at the corner of Towson and Phoenix. Now, what are we talking about? We're talking about Sore as Hell Entertainment. We're talking about the entire Sore as Hell project. You guys heard Clay Shackelford come on the last episode. He is with the Sore as Hell project. He is also an assistant coach at Family Combat Fitness and MMA, Brian Foster's outfit. In fact, they're fixing to expand. They're about to expand. They're coming into Sequoyah County right now. They're in Fort Smith. And I did notice something on Facebook a few days ago where they're about to come into Sequoyah County and set up a little. A lot of you guys know where that's at on Wheeler Avenue. So we're talking about Sore as Hell Entertainment. They're putting on the Veterans Benefit Concert. That's going to be on December 15th. That's coming up just here in a few days. It's here in a few days. It's on Friday night. I've got a lot of basketball and a lot of stuff to prior obligations. I've got sponsors who pay me to do my job, and so I have got to get to these basketball games. And so I'm not going to be able to go to the concert. Brooke White and The Ritual plus 357 will also be there. I have never heard either of these musical acts, but I hear that they're outstanding. I've seen Brooke White with a lot of activity sharing Sore as Hell things on Facebook and mentioning Sore as Hell in comments. And so, Brooke, we appreciate that. Everybody does, and we're glad that you're active there and getting your name out there. So we're going to see Brooke White and The Ritual and 357. That's going to be on December 15th at the Fort Smith Convention Center. Doors open at 6:30 p.m. Concert is at 7. If you want tickets, you can get on soreashell.com. The first thing you will see is a big box that says buy tickets. All right? Click that sucker and go in and buy those tickets. And or you can call 479-653-8554 or 479-251-0808 or visit soreashell.com. This concert is sponsored by Ward Brothers Roofing, Family Combat Fitness and MMA, Shriner Insurance Agency, Metro PCS T-Mobile, Old Fort Harley Davidson, come get you some off-road and performance, Kevin Clifton Real Estate, your local market experts, also River Valley CrossFit, and Saki Sushi and Martini Bar. Love that place. That place is outstanding, Private Pile. And on top of that, we're talking about Fort Smith Fight Night the very next night. MMA is back in Fort Smith. You guys saw the big jiu-jitsu rumble we had back in November. That was great. Everybody loves grappling. Now it's time for a little Fort Smith Fight Night. We've got full-blown MMA coming back to Fort Smith. It's been a long time. Everybody has missed it. December 16th, that's going to be on a Saturday. That is the night after. That's coming up. That's just a few days from now. That's coming up right after, the night after the Veterans Benefit Concert at the Fort Smith Convention Center. Same place, same time. Doors open at 6:30. Fights start at 7 o'clock. General admission, if you want a general admission ticket, right now they're $30. I don't know if they've got a deal where they go up at the door. I don't know how that's going to work, but I know, folks, there is always a greater opportunity to get your tickets ahead of time. Number one, you make sure you get a ticket if you get it ahead of time. Number two, you make sure you get the best price available if you get it ahead of time. You don't want to wait until the place sells out. I don't even know if tickets are left. I haven't gotten any word from anybody to see if there are any tickets left. General admission, $30. Ringside, $50. VIP tables, I don't even know if they're still available, but let me tell you something. If you get on Facebook, you go to Sore as Hell Entertainment, type in Sore as Hell Entertainment, go to that page. When you scroll down, the very first post that you're going to see on the Sore as Hell Facebook page is a contest to win a VIP table at this event. All you have to do is follow the instructions that are printed on the photo. It's very simple. I think you have to like the Sore as Hell page. You have to like the status with the contest. You have to share it. Then you have to comment. You have to tag at least 5 people. Try to tag people who aren't already on the Sore as Hell page. We need new eyeballs. We've had this thing going. Let me tell you how frustrating this is. We've had over 6,000 people look at this contest, and we've only gone up like 60 page likes. That's crazy. We need to go up a whole lot more than that. That's the whole thing about this. We got to get exposure. But if you participate, you can win the VIP table. It seats 10 people. 10 people. It has a $500 value, and you can win it absolutely free. Now, I've got the fight card in front of me. I understand there's a lot of things going on right now. There's some stuff happening, some communication with the Arkansas State Athletic Commission. I don't know what those details include, so I don't know what to say. We did talk about on the last show, we talked about a lot of things that are going on. Sammy is already in my switchboard, and I'm glad he warned me about that because I'm off my studio page and I'm on the soreashell.com page. So, Sammy, bear with me, buddy. I don't want to go over the fight card yet because I don't know what's changed and what's not changed. I will tell you that one thing that has not changed is the fact that we're about to talk to Sammy Rogers. And so we're going to get him on the line here in just a couple of minutes. But I don't want to say too much because I don't know exactly what the shakeup has been. So I don't want to get everybody in a panic. Right now, just expect the fight card to be exactly as it was. Now, after this is over with, on Saturday night, Sore as Hell Entertainment and Sake Sushi and Martini Bar are throwing a VIP after-fight party. All right, everybody, you go down Garrison. And let me reiterate something to everybody. Do not screw this up, people. If you get drunk at the event, don't go to the Martini Bar. Don't go to Sake and try to act a fool. Go home. Just go home, okay? The Arkansas State Police released a big thing. I published it on todayinfortsmith.com a few days ago. They are really, really cracking down on drunk drivers, okay? Trust me, it's not something you want to get involved in, okay? And if you have been involved in it, just do yourself a favor. Change the way you live life, and you won't have that problem anymore. Trust me. But don't go to Sake and start acting a fool. If you get terribly inebriated, go home. But if you know how to handle yourself and you're an adult, you're the type of person we appreciate, go to Sake Sushi and Martini Bar. After the fight's over with, there's going to be fight night drink specials. You can meet the fighters. You can meet the women of Sore as Hell Entertainment, the ladies. Everybody knows we love the ladies of Sore as Hell Entertainment. There's a smoking hot one on the front page of this on this poster here. So that's, I mean, look, Sore as Hell Entertainment is putting on a weekend of just a tornado of events, of fun things to do. You've got a concert. You've got Fort Smith Fight Night. You've got the after-fight party. There's all kinds of stuff that you can involve yourself in with Soars Hell Entertainment. And I don't want you to think that this is a one-and-done type of deal for these guys. They're coming back. We've already got dates on the next on the next fights. I'm not going to release that right now because I don't know if that's my business yet. But we will. I mean, we're going to keep the podcast going because this isn't like certain other things when you can have a podcast going. And if somebody cries and calls somebody a name, then everybody throws a fit and you get shut down. That's not happening, Soars Hell Entertainment. That's not happening on todayinfortsmith.com. That's not happening with the Fort Fights podcast. That's not happening with Clint Davis. I can promise you that. So right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to click my buttons over here and see. Sammy Rogers, are you with me, buddy?
Yes, sir.
Hey, Sammy, Slammin Sammy. Now, look, we're going to start out. We're going to go way, way, way back. We're going to jump off the deep end here real quick, and then we're going to get in down to some business. For those listening who don't know Sammy Rogers, which there may be a few, but for the most part, I'm showing 147 people right now listening live, which is perfect because that number is going to grow because people don't like to hear me talk for the first 15 minutes. But for the people who don't know you, Sammy, I personally, when I was with XFI, I watched you fight 3 fights. You finished all 3 of those fights in less than 1 minute combined time. So now here we're coming into Fort Smith Fight Night, and I've seen some pretty notable names on Facebook saying Sammy Rogers doesn't train. So now, first of all, I know that's not true, and I know this for a fact that it's not true. So tell us a little bit about what you've been doing. You know, it's been a while, so tell us a little bit about what you've been doing to get the old Slammin Sammy back and kind of what we can expect to see coming into this event.
Well, Clint, I've just been working on my cardio and stuff, and more of anything, you know, I'm inspired to really get ready for this fight. You know, considering that my daughter passed away and stuff, this fight's for her. So if I hadn't trained any time before, and then you know this time it's definitely going to be happening. There's no way that I'm gonna lose this fight. I'm just gonna say that I've been really getting prepared for this, and I just really want to put on a show for the crowd like I normally do anytime.
Yeah, you know, and we had talked earlier in the week, and I had seen something. My buddy Skippy with MMA Madhouse, he had put up a status that said, you know, if you had a guy who had fought 10 fights, finished all his fights in the first round, would you put him on the card? And a lot of people were going, no, because nobody wants to see fast fights and blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking, dude, if we've got a guy who's finishing all of his fights right off I don't care if it's right off the bat. I don't care. You know, nobody, I mean, I'm a fan. I'm an MMA fan first and foremost, okay? I'm not, right now I don't have anything to do with the MMA business anymore. I'm a fan. So I'm going to tell you, as a fan, I want to see somebody go in and finish a fight. I don't like to see a fight go to the judges. I don't like to have 3 people with opinions, you know, who may either nail it right on the head or get it totally wrong, which we've all seen how that turns out. And everybody knows the old saying, if you don't finish the fight, you don't want to send it to the judges because you can absolutely dominate a fight and still lose if it goes to the judges. So, you know, I would absolutely put somebody like that on the card, which is why when I saw this card, I was glad to see the name Sammy Rogers because I thought, holy crap, now we've got a fight. We've got a fight on our hands. We're going to see something that's not going to last very long. Now, on last week's episode, I know you tuned into that and you heard people talking about Matt Wolfman Howell. And, you know, they're talking about how he's, you know, he's a finisher. And personally, I've never seen Matt Howell win a fight. So I really don't know. I mean, to me, I can almost guarantee who I can put my money on, which I may or may not have already done that. But what is your mindset and preparation for Matt Howell?
Well, just for one, that you know, I know he likes to grapple. I know that, and that's all I've ever seen him tend to do. So, you know, I like to stand up and throw them hands, though, Clint. So, But either way it goes, if he goes to the ground, if he's able to get me to the ground, then I'll feel comfortable there too. But I'm looking for a KO or finish. You know, I want the crowd to be pleased with what they come to see. So
right on.
You can count on seeing I'm pretty sure I'm probably gonna knock him out. That's what's gonna happen.
Well, I mean, I know that's something a lot of people are going to like to see, and you know, so now going back to what you had mentioned earlier, and I know that I don't really want to say we teased this on Facebook, but you know, we did talk about the fact that you've been through a lot of things. You've been through pretty much hell for the last, I don't know, maybe year and a half, 2 years, somewhere in there. You know, just walk us through the last couple of years. I know that you guys had a house fire, and then you guys had your situation that you just mentioned. Kind of walk us through the last couple of years and tell us what life has been like for you.
It's been real rough, Clint. You know, my passion's always been, I've always loved to fight. I grew up the youngest out of 4 boys fighting and everything, you know, so whenever, you know, I got into MMA, I of course I loved it, but, you know, once I'd had my kids and everything, that kind of fell out, you know, getting to do it as much as I'd like to, but, I mean, I'm working back towards that, but, you know, starting about a couple years ago, maybe 2.5 years ago, you know, I experienced a house fire. I lost everything that I ever worked for, you know. And then shortly after that, you know, me and my wife of 9.5 years, we split up. And then it was 4 days after that, you know, my youngest daughter passed away. And it's just been really, really hard on me. But, I mean, considering all that, I've never lost faith in God, you know, and that's one thing that helped me through that. And I think that's what's going to help me see me through this fight too. Considering that, you know, there's no way that I can see Matt beating me. As far as if he does, he's going to have to kill me. He's going to have to put me to sleep. I ain't tapping. That's for sure. This is for my daughter, and there's no way that there ain't no lose in me in this fight. I'm just going to say that.
Well, now I understand how you. Well, I actually I can't say I understand how you feel, but I can understand your train of thought there in doing it for her. You know, a lot of people. I mean, we heard Clay Shackelford say, you know, last week when we talked to him that, you know, that you've got a lot of aggression to get out. You have a lot of things to prove in that cage. But on the other hand, there are a lot of people saying Sammy doesn't have the right frame of mind for this. He's, you know, how would you explain to fight fans that, you know, you're more than mentally prepared for this? What have you done to not necessarily put things behind you, because that'll never happen, but how have you kind of, I don't know, I guess, ridden side saddle with this whole situation to get ready to be back in the cage?
Well, I just, you know, I just really mainly just focused on training, and, you know, I've always, like, I got my daughter's picture with me, you know, as we speak, you know, and that's something that kind of inspires me right there every time. And, you know, anytime that when I'm training and my body's wanting me to shut down and want me to quit, I can just look at that picture, and there's just another burst of energy that I just get, you know, and I plan on bringing a picture out with me when I come out to that cage of my daughter, and you know, I think that's gonna push me. Even if my mind's telling me to stop, there ain't gonna be no stop in me. You know, not for my daughter. There's not gonna be no quit in me at all. And just from all this happening, I think this inspired me more to drive more for this.
Understood. Now, not putting her on the back burner, but your other kids, how are they doing? Like, I know I've seen them around the way. I saw them with you a couple of times in a parking lot, I think maybe once or twice, and we've seen pictures of them on Facebook. Have they been dealing with this about as well as they can, being so little?
Yes, sir. I mean, really surprisingly to me, I mean, you know, there's times that, you know, that are a little rougher than others, that, you know, my daughters, and mainly my daughters, you know, they're a little bit older than my son, but there's times that they break down and they start crying. They talk about how they missed their sister, you know, and all I can do is just hug them and hold them and tell them, you know, I know, but she's in a lot better place, and she ain't got to go through this world like, you know, there's a lot of messed up things in this world, and them kids don't have to, you know, she don't have to go through it. And I try to explain it to my kids, like, you know, they might fall down and get a scratch, you know, and their sister never has to have that happen. She don't never have to break her arm. She don't never have to do nothing like that. You know, she's in a better place, and she's at peace, you know. So I just try to just tell them that. But, I mean, considering, yes, I mean, they are handling it pretty good. You know, I'd have to say that.
Now, let's talk business here. Who have you been training with? I know, and I'm not going to give it all away, but I just spoke to someone on the phone. It was good to talk to him. I haven't talked to him in a long time. So tell us where you've been training and some of the things you've been working on.
Well, I've been training with Chance Farley at Showdown MMA. You know, he reached out to me not too long ago. Well, yeah, I guess it's been, you know, maybe 3 months ago or so. He reached out to me, and I started going over there training with him. And we've been working quite a bit of stand-up, and, you know, of course, and around. We've been working the whole aspect of the game. And I'm really glad to have him, you know, back in having a coach and have somebody there to, you know, help give you pointers and stuff like that. I mean, I've been doing it long enough that I know things, but, I mean, you can always improve, you know, and he has been helping me improve quite a bit, you know, and you'll all see it whenever it comes fight night on Saturday.
So this talk on Facebook about Sammy Rogers doesn't train, I mean, do you know anything about that?
Yeah, I know about it. I've seen it, and, you know, I commented on it, and then I didn't never get no response from it. But, you know, I'll get a response come Saturday night. I promise you that.
Well, what was your reply to that when you saw it on Facebook?
My reply, you know, what I said is that, yeah, I mean, you know, I do have a reputation of taking fights without training. You know, I've done that as an amateur, and I did that just to put on a show, you know, Clint. Take a fight against a tough guy and in 2 days cut 15 pounds and go in there and put on a show. I mean, I've done that just because I'll do it, just fight anybody, you know, just, you know, coming pro though, you got to make a little bit smarter decisions. You need to make sure that you're ready and stuff. And my reply is that, you know, I maybe not got to train as much as I'd like to, you know, considering I got to work. I got to go out of town to work. I got to support my kids and stuff. So I don't get to do it as much as some people get to, you know. I got bills to pay and stuff. I mean, I wish I could. I'm going to work on getting some sponsors and stuff to where maybe I can do this full time. I'd like to train 8, you know, to 12 hours a day, and that'd be my job, you know. And but I got to be able to support my kids, and that was my response on it. And nobody, you know, never commented back on that towards me. But I mean, as of me pulling out of a fight and scared to fight somebody, that's not happening. That's not me. So, I mean, if that's what some people's point of view is, they got it all wrong. I mean, I'll fight anybody, you know, but there is a perfect time and a place to fight a certain person, you know. So, me going pro, I got to look at things a little bit different, have a little bit smarter decisions, and that's why I'm kind of grateful for having Chance and stuff. You know, it'll help kind of line that stuff out, not just take fights that I shouldn't take at a certain time or something, you know.
Understood. Now, let me ask you this. How did this fight get set up? You know, it's one thing I've been talking to some of these guys about, and we heard from Michael Priest and Jeremy Green, and they said, you know, we've been friends for a long time. We used to train together, and then one day we were just like, I've always wanted to kick your ass. Hey, I've always wanted to kick your ass too. Let's go at it. And so it got set up like that. I don't really know if you and Matt Howell have such a history like that together, so how did you get approached about fighting on this card? How did this get set up?
Well, to be honest with you, I really don't know how it exactly came about. I mean, I know that since I've started fighting, you know, maybe after my first fight, actually, you know, I was wanting to, me and Matt to get in there and throw down a little bit. But I mean, just never got to happen. He got offered to fight me once before when I actually fought my brother, and he was scheduled to fight DeMario Cade, and he wasn't willing to switch fighting DeMario Cade to fight me for that title. So, you know, of course, Kyle had to step in and throw down with me. And, you know, we've done that our whole life, so it ain't no thing. But, you know, I was kind of looking forward to fighting him a lot sooner. But now I guess, you know, Clay Shackelford and them just messaged me, I guess it's been about 3 weeks ago, and just asked me if I was willing to fight Matt Howell on the 16th. And of course, I accepted it. You know, I've been wanting, I mean, I was always wanting to love this fight for a long time. So now it's just, I guess, that fight gets to happen, and we get to see what happens on Saturday night now.
So were you training for a fight before 3 weeks ago, or is this another one of those I take fights on short notice types of things?
No, I was actually training to, you know, I wasn't getting to train as much as I wanted to fight the guy, but, I mean, I was still going to go ahead and do it, you know, just because I'd already said I'd do it. but I was training to fight that Chris Solo Hatley Jr. You know, and then I guess Brian's the one that pulled the deal saying that I wasn't training, and I mean, yeah, I wasn't training as much as I'd like to fight the dude, but I mean, you know, I still would have did it. But Brian, I guess, pulled that fight. I mean, so Chris is actually going to get to fight Frankie Eggers, one of Frankie Eggers' guys. So I mean, maybe that's a better opportunity for him, anyways. I mean, so but then at the last minute, it was kind of like, it seems like that's the way I get hit a lot of the times, is that on the last notice is, hey, will you fight this guy? And you know, of course, I usually do it, and I've always wanted to fight Matt. So as soon as they asked me if I wanted to fight him, yeah, I mean, it's no hard feelings against him really, but I mean, it's just one of them fights that I wanted to happen a long time ago. So now it's just one of them fights that gets to come true, I guess.
Yeah, and he gets to be the lucky guy coming into the cage with someone that's got as much on their plate as you do. And I don't know, man, that's got to be tough to come up against. I don't know how you train and prepare for knowing what you're going through, what you've been through, and what you want to prove when you get back in that cage. Now, let me ask you something. You mentioned Brian Foster pulling a fight because he didn't think you were training. And I know that's got to be frustrating for you, but you did go ahead and say that you weren't training as much as you should have. And now we've seen Hatley on Facebook. We've seen the fights that he's got here. I don't want to say in his back pocket, but we see what he's got coming up. Not that they're being spoon-fed to him, because they're not. But knowing the caliber of fighter that he is, do you think, just all feelings aside, do you think maybe Brian Foster really did you a favor in the long run by pulling that fight?
I mean, to be honest with you, Clint, I think he probably did, to be honest. I mean, because, when, like I was saying, when you come pro, you need to make a little bit more smarter decisions and stuff. And that was one of them deals that, maybe I needed to set my pride to the side a little bit. And maybe Brian did actually do me a favor in that aspect, because I mean, that pro record stays with you. You take a loss or whatever, that's on your record. It's not that amateur record, it's gone. So anything I did as an amateur, that it don't matter anymore. Now it's all pro. So I think, really in the long run, I think maybe Brian did do me a favor. Like I said, there's a time and a place to fight a certain guy, and whenever I get to train, it seems like Chris gets to train a lot. He gets a lot of hours he gets to put in there. And unfortunately, I'm not able to put in as many hours as he is. So I think Brian probably did do me a favor in that aspect. I mean, yeah, it's a little frustrating, but at the same time, it's probably for the better.
Yeah, and that's one thing we know about Brian. I mean, look, if I've never known Brian Foster to say, hey, I'm just going to pull this fight just to be a dick. I mean, I've always, I don't know, one thing we know about Brian is that he knows MMA. I mean, when it comes to just like Clay Shackelford talked about on the last episode of the Fort Fights podcast last week, Brian Foster put MMA in Fort Smith on the map. I mean, that's where all this came from, and he's got the mind for it. I mean, he fought in the UFC. He's working his way back up. He's got that big deal coming up here with a huge contract on the line. So we know Brian Foster knows MMA. And, when I heard about it, I looked into it a little bit more, and I started looking at different comments on Facebook, and I started thinking, because, you did tell me earlier in the week that you weren't training like you should have. And so I started looking at that, and I started thinking, as professional as Brian Foster is, I'm going to go out on a limb and say he didn't do this to do you a favor because he thought you were just going to go in there and get whipped. He did it because you are a professional fighter now, and other professional fighters know how professional fights should be set up. And if it's not a good fit, if it doesn't make fight sense, and if it doesn't make business sense, there's absolutely no sense in letting it go on. It's an embarrassment to MMA when stuff like that happens. And Brian knows that, and Aaron Cobb knows that. We've got guys kind of behind the scenes here who they take care of local MMA. And it's good that we have that, because you saw, man, for years we had people matchmaking in Fort Smith who had absolutely no clue what they were doing. They were putting all their friends on the fight card. They had terrible matchups going. They had stuff that made absolutely no sense. And so, it's good when somebody says, look, this doesn't make any sense. Let's go ahead and pull it. So that's what led to this fight. You know, like you said, they got a hold of Swords Hell Entertainment, got a hold of you, and said, "Hey, let's go ahead and match you up with Matt Howell." And to me, that does make a lot more sense. You know, you guys are probably I don't know if you're on the same training level. Like I said, it's been years since I've been around this business, around this sport, and so I don't know what everybody's been doing. It's hard for me to tell. I can tell you what I saw years ago, but that may not necessarily be what's happening to this day. So, you know, by all accounts, you're ready. You're prepared for this fight. It's definitely something that I'm interested in, and I talked to some of the other guys about it on the other episodes. And I told you about it. When I found out that you were on this card and I saw who you were matched up with, that instantly became my fight of interest. You know, a lot of people have that. When they see a fight card, sometimes they think, you know, well, I don't even know who these guys are, and I don't care about this fight. Here's one that I really like. Like, I'm going to buy a ticket to go see this guy right here. And a lot of people saw, that's what we did on Swords Hell's Facebook page, came out with a poll. And I'm going to go ahead and throw myself under the bus. I came out with a poll because it's something I've wanted to do for years. Sometimes I was told that it wasn't a very good idea because it showed bias, which I totally disagree with that. But we came out with a poll. We put it on the Swords Hell page. A lot of people have voted. I wanted to know, and I'm sure a lot of people wanted to know. A lot of people on the business side of MMA wanted to know, who are you buying a ticket to see? Like, who are my money makers here? Like, who is the guy that or the lady that's jumping in the cage that people want to see? And right now, we talked to Kaya Oliver last week, and Kaya Oliver is leading. Everybody wants to see her debut. And so, you know, and you're right up there with the best of them. So we all have that. And that's why I came out with that poll, because I knew that when I saw your fight on the fight card, I thought, that's the fight that I'm personally interested in. So I wanted to know what everybody else thought. And, you know, we've gotten a lot of good feedback about that poll, and I think it's a great idea. It's probably something we should stick with from here on out. But when you saw that poll, was it sort of kind of a boost for you to click on that and see your name up at the top with some of these other guys?
Yes, sir. It sure was. I mean, you know, I know I've always been a pretty entertaining fighter. People know that whenever, you know, I get in there, it's not going to be just, you know, some we're just going to sit there and touch gloves and just dance around or nothing. You know, they know that there's going to be some action go down whenever I get in there, you know, and I already knew that, you know, and it did boost me to see that, you know, that I was up there in the polls, that, you know, that a lot of people are anxious to see me get in there, you know, especially again, you know, a lot of people know the situation that I was through, you know, losing my daughter and everything. So they know there's a lot of aggression and stuff that's got to be let loose, you know, and for me to get back in the cage and that, you know, yeah, it did boost my confidence. That's for sure.
Now, you know, one thing I've kind of caught a little bit of backlash for, and you might have seen this, a lot of people missed it, but I snuck a surprise entry in on the poll. And surprisingly, the ghost of Kimbo Slice has gotten, I think, as many people want to see Matt Howell as many people want to see the ghost of Kimbo Slice at this event. Now the ghost of Kimbo Slice is not going to be there, but you know, sometimes people need a good laugh. They need a little kind of little comedic outlet there. But I think it's turned out well for the most part, and I think people have responded well. So. You know, so this is going to be your first fight with Swords Hell Entertainment, and you know, I'm looking forward to it. I know I've said it 1,000 times, and a lot of other people are. We have 312 people listening live, so we jumped way up. I just looked at my numbers. I just refreshed my page, and so we've got a lot of people listening. So here's what I'm going to ask you, just like we used to do back in the day. Just like we did before last week, for all the people listening, I want to know who you've got shout-outs for. Friends, fans, family, people who don't know you, people who are going to see you for the first time. Just kind of shoot for a minute and talk to the people.
You know, I got some shout-outs. You know, first off, you know, I got to put a shout-out to my kids, that's for sure. You know, Davey Lynn and Blakely and Sammy Jack Jr. You know, and there's you know, my brother, you know, he's been there for me for a lot, and Kyle, and, you know, there's a good group of guys I started working with, you know, just maybe a couple months ago, 3 months ago. A company called Higmark that I work for, and we work out at Fleet Service in Tulsa. They've been a great group of guys, and actually, matter of fact, I got to send a shout out to them, because if it wasn't for them, a few guys there, Donnie and Matt that I work with, my truck wouldn't be running, and I would have had a hard time getting back from Tulsa to be here to finish cutting the weight and stuff. So, I got to send a big shout out to them, and that's all I can think of right now, really, to be honest with you, Clint. I'm sure there's a lot more other ones, and there's more to come, but if it wasn't for them guys, much appreciation to them, because I had a clutch go out in my truck, and it was a pain to get it back in and everything. There was a bunch of problems we ran into, but them guys stuck with me and helped me get it, running. So, much appreciation to them. And, if there's some people that I'm not really thinking of right now, sorry about that. There's just kind of a lot on my mind, but.
Yeah, I was going to say, as soon as you get off the show, you're going to think of about 500 people that you want to say thank you to, and you may get a chance to do that. In the cage, I know they're looking for a ring announcer for that night, someone to do some post-fight interviews and things like that. So, if you come out on top over Matt Howell, then you may get your shot to stand in the cage, and somebody's going to shove a microphone in your face and ask you what you have to say again. And that's when you can, but it may slip your mind by then. Who knows? You might be so sweaty and bloody after that, you might not even know what to say. But, man, Sammy, I appreciate you, dude. We've had several conversations over the years. I always appreciate you. I'll do anything in the world for you. And I'm hoping that this all goes well for you. I'm hoping it's everything you want it to be. And so we're just looking forward to it, man. So Saturday night, December 16th, that's when it all goes down. Now, one last thing. I know I said shout-outs were going to be last, but you mentioned cutting weight. What weight are you fighting at, and where are you at right now?
I got to get down to 140. That's the weight that me and Matt Howell ended up agreeing to fight at. And I'm about 146 right now. So, it's, I've had a lot worse weight cuts. I'll just have to say that, Clint. And I don't see no problem with getting the rest of it off. I'm feeling really good too. So, no brainer for me. But I did want to, say, most of all, I got to thank God for, getting me through all this. So that's one that I can't leave out and all that. He got me through all this and helping me look at it more of a positive way instead of letting it drag me down.
Understood. Sammy Rogers, we're going to let you get back to your night. We got a couple more things we want to talk about on the show. Plus, we might have United States Martial Arts Hall of Famer Greg Squirrel calling in any minute here now. So we're going to let you get back to a weight cut, or if that's what you've been doing. I know you just got done training, so we'll let you get a shower and clean up and maybe get some little bit of fluids in you. Not too much, because we know you're cutting. So, but, man, before we let you go, give me a call anytime you need me. Shoot me a message on Facebook or call me on my phone and let me know what's up, all right?
All right, Clint, I appreciate you, man. I appreciate everybody listening.
All right, man. Well, we'll talk to you later. Ladies and gentlemen, that is Slammin Sammy Rogers. And like I mentioned before we did the interview, we've seen Sammy. Sammy finished 3 fights. And I know he was an amateur when he did this, but he finished 3 fights in less than a minute combined. Less than a minute. All 3 fights combined. Not a minute apiece. This man wasn't even in the cage for a solid minute for 3 fights. And he finished his opponent. So, Sammy's more than capable. That's the point I'm trying to make. Sammy is absolutely more than capable of taking on a fight like this and coming out on top. He knows his opponent. These guys have known each other for a lot of years. You guys saw Matt Howell with Spike 22 for a long time. I don't know if he's still with Spike 22. I don't have any updates. I haven't kept up with anybody. Unless they've reached out to me and said, hey, here's what I'm doing now, I don't know what's going on with you. So, we saw Matt Howell with Spike 22 for a long time. And, so I don't really know what's going on these days, but he may be I've seen pictures on Facebook of kind of him in different locations. So I don't know if it's more cross-training. I don't know if it's a new gym. I don't know. I have no idea. But we're going to see Matt Howell and Sammy Rogers lock up on December 16th. That is this coming Saturday. We're going to talk about that here again in just a second while we wait for Greg Squirrel. Man, Greg Squirrel, don't flake out on me again. I was hoping he would call in. And Greg Squirrel kind of disappeared on me last week. He fell asleep. So we didn't get to talk to the Squirrel. I know he shared this link a few times, so I'm going to cover some information while we're waiting on Greg Squirrel to call in. This is the Fort Fights podcast on blogtalkradio.com, brought to you by todayinfortsmith.com, and presented by Soares Hell Entertainment, sponsored by Southern Trading and Pawn, located at 4621 Towson Avenue at the corner of Towson and Phoenix in Fort Smith. Now, my latest project, todayinfortsmith.com. If you haven't liked that page on Facebook, go to Today in Fort Smith. Just get on Facebook, type in Today in Fort Smith, like the page, and keep up with all. Man, we've got mug shots we put out every single morning before anybody else does. In fact, we put out a story. My business partner, Dennis McCaslin, just pointed it out to me this morning. He said, man, he said 5 News put the story out like 17 hours after we did. So, I mean, we're beating people to the punch. All these people that put out all these fake stories about some inmate winning $1 million settlement for rolling off the top bunk. That's what 5 News puts out. They put out crap about Australia and all this. Nobody cares about that. Com is local news, local weather, local sports. That's what people are looking for, local crime reports. We put out active warrant reports. We also put out a list that was asked for by popular demand, a non-compliant sex offender list in this area. That way people can be on the lookout. We have everybody's best interest in mind. So now, if you jumped in at the beginning of the show, you heard music. You heard music. It was called Unsung Ghost by Solidify. You can find them on Facebook at Solidify Band OK. Like that page, or you can type in solidifyband.com in your web browser and you can go to their website. Craig, Stephen, Garrett, John, and Tyler. That's funny. We had a president named John Tyler. Also, if you don't know this, John Tyler was the 10th president of the United States, and his 2 grandsons are still alive to this day. If you don't believe me, go look it up. A lot of you guys know I love history, always have, always will. President John Tyler, number 10, he has 2 grandkids still walking the face of this earth. Now, that sounds pretty far-fetched since we're on president number 45. President number 10 still has grandkids living. So, Craig, Stephen, Garrett, John, and Tyler, they're going to be at the Masquerade. Well, it's the Masquerade Bash at Blackbird on Pearl, 1336 East 6th Street in Tulsa. That's on December 30th. There's a $5 cover. Doors open at 7 p.m. The show starts at 8 p.m. You got to be 21 years old to get in. It says Rocklahoma, bitches. And Camp Mardi Gras presents the end-of-the-year party for the ages. Come as you are not. Wear a mask or 2. And end 2017 and start 2018 with a bang at this Masquerade Bash with Grind, Fist of Rage, Sovereign Dame, and Solidify. Of course, in no particular order. That's Blackbird on Pearl. Type them in on Facebook. Type that venue in. It's a live music venue in Tulsa. They have 2,423 likes at the moment, but they can go up if you go like the page. And like the page for Solidify, and type in Today in Fort Smith and like that page as well. So I'm looking at my switchboard, and I'm thinking, Greg Squirrel, are you with me?
Hey, Clint Davis, what's up, buddy?
Oh, my gosh. Ladies and gentlemen, United States Martial Arts Hall of Famer Gregory Squirrel is on the show. Squirrel, what have you been up to, man? We haven't talked in a long time. What's going on?
Oh, man, it's been way too long, Clint. I'm just still doing what I do, traveling around, announcing great MMA action. And, I'm looking forward to getting back to Fort Smith Saturday. Been a while since I've been down there. And, I'm pumped and excited about this. A lot of people know I spent about 15 years in Fort Smith, graduated from Fort Smith Northside, and eventually moved back up to Northwest Arkansas up in Fayetteville. But, I've been traveling to Springfield, announcing fights up there. Just signed up with a new promotion over in Memphis, so I'm very excited about that. There are a couple of fight promotions over in Oklahoma that I'm doing stuff for. On Point MMA down in Atoka, Oklahoma, and travel promotions over near El Reno, Oklahoma. Been announcing fights for them, and like I say, now I'm signed up to do this event with Sore as Hell, and I'm just really looking forward to getting back to Fort Smith, seeing some old friends, as always, making new friends. Just touching base with the old compadres and see what we can do for the folks.
The old compadres. Now, I don't know if I'm going to get a chance to make it, because I didn't even get to do the rivalry Muldrow-Roland basketball game last night. I had to miss that because of Today in Fort Smith business. So I'm trying to get my schedule freed up. Oh my God, I want to be there so bad. You have no idea. I've got unfinished business as well. And so I the Veterans Benefit Concert, I'm definitely not going to be able to be there for that. And I hate that because I wish I could. But, I kind of came into this late. I had a lot of people shot me messages and said, man, you've got to get the MMA podcast going again. And I was like, why? There's not even MMA in Fort Smith anymore. And they're like, no, there really is. You need to see this. And so people started sending me message after message after message. Aaron Cobb and I talked about this a couple of months ago, and he said, man, how can we get the podcast going? What do we need to do to get a podcast again? And I said, well, I can get it all set up. You guys know I got the equipment for that. And so eventually I just got enough information and we got this thing set up. So now we're talking about Sore as Hell. So about this event, I noticed that they were having a little contest for a ring announcer, and now you say you're coming back down for this. So tell us a little bit about that.
Okay. Well, everyone, I try not to burn bridges. Sometimes you can't avoid that, but I've kept in touch with Aaron Cobb over the years, and we were kind of talking about this event, and he said, well, let me talk it over with his people and see what we can do. And eventually I started talking to Clay Shackelford, and Clay said, yeah, we would love to have you come down to be the ring announcer. So I will be the ring announcer. I know they do have another gentleman that's going to be handling the interview stuff, and I don't have his name written down here in front of me to save my life. But I will be there handling the ring announcing, doing what I used to do, what I do, Now,
I hate to say this because I don't want you to think I undercut you. I didn't know you were coming down at first. And week one of high school basketball, Dennis and I went down to Poto. Muldrow played Poto, and, of course, we swept Poto. Muldrow basketball did. But I was sitting right next to the PA announcer for Muldrow High School for Poto High School basketball. And, this guy had charisma. He had a lot of class. He was very, very professional. And I just looked at him and I said, man, what are you doing on December 16th? And he's like, I don't think I'm doing anything. And I said, man, at least let me get your name and phone number. And so he kind of asked what was going on. And I said, I know some guys that are promoting an MMA event, and they're looking for a cage announcer. They're looking for somebody to get on the mic. And I said, you'd be perfect for this. So I got his name and phone number, and I recommended. I sent the name and phone number to the powers that be. I don't know if they contacted him, but he was just that talented. But I am glad to see that you're coming down for this. I've always felt like this, but I feel like anytime we have any kind of MMA event in Fort Smith, Greg Squirrel should be a part of that. And I'm not saying that just because you and I are friends and we've done a lot of we've done some traveling, we've done a lot of podcasts, we've done a lot of stuff together. I'm not saying it just because of that. I'm saying it because, you're a United States Martial Arts Hall of Famer for ring announcing. You're the best in the business. That's why I'm saying it.
Well, Clint, I appreciate that, you're right. Back when MMA was running Fort Smith hot and heavy, I was there, saw a lot of great fights up and down the road between the different promotions that were coming in and out of there, and then it just suddenly disappeared, and I was very shocked and surprised about that, and so I'm one of the other ones that are very excited and happy that MMA is making its return to Fort Smith.
Yeah, and it's funny you mentioned the disappearance of MMA because I don't know. I mean, I saw the disappearance coming, to be honest with you, and that's why I kind of disappeared. Well, there were a lot of reasons why I disappeared before it happened, but one of the biggest reasons was because I kind of saw it coming, and I'm not trying to, badmouth anybody or anything. I just knew that things were coming to an end, and I didn't want to be there to watch it fall because I've got great respect for the people who promote MMA, and I just have nothing but good things to say about them. So I just didn't want to. I don't know. I didn't want to be there for that. It's kind of like watching a death in the family. You don't want to be there for something like that. So, But yeah, you're right. We did see MMA in Fort Smith just totally disappeared, and I was still, even though I saw it coming, man, I was still shocked that it did die out because constantly, I cannot tell you how constantly this was. No matter what I was doing, where I was at, where I went, who I was with, it didn't matter. Every time I ran into somebody or got any type of Facebook message, it was, hey, when's MMA coming back to Fort Smith? And for the longest time, I just said, man, I don't even care. I just don't even care. I'm so burnt out on it. I don't care. And, there's a lot of prima donnas in MMA, or they think they're in MMA. I don't know. There are people like Clay Shackelford talked about last week. They show up to a gym and they play jiu-jitsu, and then they all think that they're Chuck Norris or something. And that's what you deal with a lot. You deal with a lot of people who think that they're all the toughest people on the face of the earth, and I'm 5 foot nothing, and I'm going to smoke you, and whatever. And it's people like that they start to burn you out. The people that pull out of events at the last minute, they no-show. And then you've got people constantly calling and saying, can I have free this? I want free tickets. I want free T-shirts. I want, seriously, when an MMA promoter goes into business, they're in a business, number one, to promote MMA, and number two, it's to be profitable in promoting MMA. There is no MMA promoter on the face of the earth that makes a living or makes a promotion successful by giving shit away. And that I don't think the fans understand that sometimes. There are a lot of fans who do get it, and they bring their hard-earned money to the ticket booth. They bring their hard-earned money to the merchandise table. They bring their hard-earned money to the concession stand. But, man, there are so many people out there who just don't understand. We would, with XFI, we would end an event on one night. It would be 4 or 5 o'clock the next morning, Sunday morning, and my inbox would be full of people saying, hey, man, do you think I could get free tickets to the next one? No, that's not, you don't do that. And that's what MMA in Fort Smith became for me, was leechers and moochers. And I just thought, man, I'm out of this. I'm so tired of it. The people running their mouths constantly, and everybody's so tough, and I'm better than you, and whatever, dude. Well, I just got so burnt out. But I saw the disappearance coming, and then it finally happened. And so, I don't want to say I was right because I'm a little ashamed that MMA disappeared. But you're right, man. You're right. It did happen.
Yeah. Well, and that's it. I can't say I saw it coming, but I saw it being diminished, and a lot of it from my side of the mic, so to say, I was seeing the stuff that was happening behind the scenes, and if there was going to be any issues, that's where I saw it coming from, was from the behind the scenes. I'm just going to put us back on the State Athletic Commission. I'm not going to pull no punches. I'm not going to lie about it. But that's where I saw it from, because around that time there was a lot of shady dealings going on with the State Athletic Commission. And unfortunately, for some reason, Arkansas will not allow, that I know of, they may have changed over the years, but Arkansas would not allow a reputable independent sanctioning body to come in and control the fights.
Right.
And like I say, I deal with a lot of great independent sanctioning bodies, and they do a great job. They know the rules. They're ran by ex-fighters, so they know the rules. And so that's where I saw the downfall of MMA in the Fort Smith area coming from, because they were the athletic commission was just throwing stuff out there, and on more than one occasion they were called out on it. And it's like, is this in the books? Well, no, it's not in the books yet, but it's coming. And I know one trainer in Fort Smith got right in the athletic commission's face, and he said, well, then fine. You get it in the books, we'll start doing it. But until then, we're doing like we always have been. So,
right.
that's where I saw the downfall coming from, not from the promotions themselves. And like you said, not from the people wanting tickets, this, that. I saw coming from between the promoters and the athletic commission, because, I personally heard a representative of the state athletic commission say that if they had it their way, there would be no MMA in Arkansas.
Yeah, just like they had it with New York, for a long time, and now they've got it there, thank God. But now, just to clarify, I didn't want to make it sound like the fans are what fizzled MMA out. That's what burned me out. Like that was a big. Right. That had a lot to do with burning me out. But yeah, I mean, as far as the athletic commission goes, look, I know at one point we had an event, XFI threw an event, and there was one person in particular, Tom Simon, the old referee for TCW, that came down. And this guy was teaming up with my ex-wife on Facebook, trying to come up with a plan to destroy our entire event. And he was supposed to be there working the event. And she gets a hold of him and starts talking about, we need to run this, and I'm going to show up. That way I'm going to get him arrested. And we're, the typical same old song and dance from her crazy ass. And so that's kind of what that was. And I thought, how in the hell can you have somebody working for the athletic commission who's going to try to come in and like make plans on Facebook in public to ruin an MMA event? And the guy from the athletic commission is saying, yeah, that's cool, I'll help you. I mean, are you serious? Like, there were so many corrupt dealings and people involved that it's just ridiculous.
Right. Oh, hold on a minute. I forgot to turn the timer off on my TV. But no, I mean, like I say, there was just so much collusion. That's the word I'm going to use. There was just so much stuff going on when you're athletic, when the person representing the athletic commission, first off, shouldn't have been a member of the athletic commission, because
yes,
their background was in tough guy contest.
Yeah, exactly.
And she did, and she, I'm gonna say it was a she. Then a lot of people may figure out who I'm talking about. I overheard her. I was walking backstage at an XFI show. I was walking back to my dressing room, and she's backstage talking to one of her cronies. And right as I'm walking by, she said if she had it her way, there would be no boxing or no MMA in the state of Arkansas, because it pulls money away from her in tough guy contest.
Wow. That's crazy, man. Yeah, I mean, there's just so much, and then to bring Tom Simon in, whose background is in, a wrestling promotion that he really, I mean, this guy was crazy. I went, I worked with TCW, Dennis McCaslin and I did for quite a while, and I used to go set up the ring. I used to show up to places and set up the ring just for a front row VIP ticket. Well, this guy one day thought I was supposed to be there to carry his bags. I said, brother, you're barking up the wrong tree. I said, I'm not some lapdog, though. I mean, I'm setting up the ring because I love wrestling. I want somebody. I love the promotion. I want them to be able to come in and do this. And this guy was so, like, his head was so in the clouds, it was stupid. And then the athletic commission hires him. And then he comes down to Fort Smith to an XFI event. He didn't know I was working with XFI, and he tried to pull some shit like that. It was totally ridiculous, man. But yeah, when you have a background in something other than MMA, it's not really a good idea for you to be trying to run the state athletic commission and trying to govern what goes on with MMA, just like you were saying.
Well, and there is actually, a lot of people may not know that there is a law out there called the Muhammad Ali law. And that law stipulates that if you have a financial interest in a fight promotion or a boxer, you should not be on the athletic commission. But that's what was going on, because some of these people were able to keep it under the covers, so to say, and they were getting by with it. Just like the previous mentioned, her financial interest was in tough guy contest, and she was trying to. And I went to 2 or 3 athletic commission meetings, and she's talking about, you know, the number of injuries and stuff that are associated with MMA. And a friend of mine drug out the point, and he says, well, didn't you just have a fighter die because he fought on one of your tough guy contests just 2 years ago? And like I say, this was 3 years ago, so overall we're looking at about 6 years this happened. But there was there was a tough guy contest down in southern Arkansas. I can't remember the town right offhand. I'm thinking Texarkana, but don't quote me on that. And there was a fighter who fought. There was a guy that fought on that show who ended up dying because of injuries sustained on that show.
Yeah, and then when a commission oversees things like that. But yeah, you know, I mean, like you said, there were a lot of people who were strictly against MMA, and a lot of people had vowed and said, I'm not going to rest until I see MMA in Arkansas done away with. And I thought, how in the hell are these people allowed to work for the state athletic commission? It kind of defeats the purpose. It's like working at Walmart and saying, I want to see retail sales die. Yeah, I mean, you don't do that. You don't try to destroy the very business that you're in. It's just so stupid. But, you know, I don't know who's working with the commission right now. I have no idea. I hope it's a completely different crew. If it's not, I, for one, am going to be glad that I'm not sitting in on any kind of meetings with these people. And I'm glad I can just be a spectator at this point. So,
I agree.
Yeah. Now speaking of events, have you heard anything from Striking out of Muskogee? Have they done anything lately?
They did a couple of events towards the end of October, end of September, early October, and they had called me about ring announcing that event, but unfortunately I had prior commitments, so I had to turn that event down. But I know they do. I know they are planning on bringing some stuff back in 2018, and hopefully, I'll be able to be a part of that, because Ty Pilgrim and that crew over there, once again, more great people to work with.
Absolutely.
So you know me, I'm just sitting by the phone waiting for that little German to call me and says, "Hey, Greg, we got show coming up. Come on over." I do now, a bad German accent. But
when you say little German, you're talking about a man that's about 6'6" and weighs about 300 pounds. And
exactly.
I mean, this Ty is a gigantic man, and I love Ty, man. Like, he is so professional, and his events that he puts on, they are very, very coordinated, very, very much by the book. And I love the way they do business. You know, I talked on one of the episodes of podcast last week about the trip that you and I mean, we didn't really take the trip together. I met you in Muskogee, and we sat in at the Muskogee Convention Center and watched a striking Muay Thai and kickboxing event. It was the first time I had ever seen kids doing kickboxing, and I was shocked. Like, it was a great thing. Like, I was proud of those kids. I didn't even know who they were, but it was just a great event, and I was glad that we got to do that. And of course, walking in and saying, "I'm here with Greg Squirrel," they were like, "Oh my gosh, here, sir, you can have a seat by the judge on right next to the ring." And I was like, "Hey, that's perfect." So, that's where we were, and that's what we did. Now, Squirrel, I'm going to go ahead and throw something out there. I don't know if you'll be able to pass the word or not. But some of these local events, if we don't have basketball interfering, todayinfortsmith.com, we will live remote. We will do any live event that people need us to be there to cover, and we'll cover it live on todayinfortsmith.com. We have that capability. We have 24/7 broadcasting capabilities, and so that's something we can do. So I don't know if that's something maybe you could add that to your little shtick about, hey man, not only can I ring announce, but I know a guy who can cover your event live, and maybe you could pass the word.
Well, I'm always willing to help people out. Sometimes it's gotten me in trouble, sometimes it's not, but I'm always willing to help people out and do all that, and so I'll definitely pass the name along because I've known you a long time now, Dennis McCaslin. I've known him forever and a day. And definitely be able to put a word in for you guys because I have no problem at all. Because I want to see Fort Smith and I want to see MMA and Fort Smith get back up there again. Because they were pulling some great shows. I remember Black Eye when they were doing their shows out at the fairgrounds out at Fort Smith. That place 75 most of the time was packed.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course there was Extreme, there was XFI, there was tribal promotions that were running there in Fort Smith, and Fort Smith was a hotbed there for a while, and I want to see that hotbed. Come down because there are a lot of great fighters in that area. Dan Casper fighting in the main event Saturday night.
Oh God, yes.
Man, that was going to be like you kind of quoted my boy Jim Ross earlier. That was going to be a slobber knocker right there too.
Yeah, Saturday night in Muskogee. I mean, I've seen Dan Casper fight. I've seen Tyler Jones fight, but I've never seen them fight each other. And I know this is a rematch, so I honestly don't even know. I don't have a clue what happened in the first fight. I don't even know who won the fight. I don't know how it was won. I don't even know the backstory on the rematch. So. I just got done telling Sammy that when I saw the fight card, his fight was the number one thing that I was interested in. But the more I got to hearing about Tyler Jones and Dan Casper, I started thinking, man, maybe I need to start paying attention to this because everybody knows and loves Dan Casper. He's a stand-up guy, very, very professional. And, and then you got Tyler on the other hand. We've seen Tyler come up as he was still young, but he was just a kid when he started doing this, and he came out smoking, and he I don't think he smokes in real life, but he came out smoking in the cage and just doing an excellent job. And I'll tell you, the best fight I ever saw in Fort Smith, I'll tell you right now, was the first fight between Tyler Jones and Bud Bogan. I mean, oh my God,
yeah.
You talk about this was I've never seen a fight in person. I've seen a lot of good ones on TV, but there's just not a lot of effect to them unless you're watching it live. But I was seriously, I almost had carpal tunnel by the end of that. My fists were clenched so tight during that Tyler Jones-Bud Bogan fight that I've never seen a fight like that in person, besides maybe Bradley Warwick and Matt Dawson. That was an excellent fight that I saw too. But this Bud Bogan and Tyler Jones fight, I know what both these guys are capable of. I know what Tyler Jones is capable of. I know what Dan Casper's capable of. And, it's just this is going to be another one. I'm glad it's the main event. You got Aaron Cobb setting up fights like this, and it doesn't get much better than that at all.
No. Aaron's got a good reputation for setting up some good fights. So, once again, Slammin Sammy Rogers and Wolfman Howell, how can you top that? That's a good card too. I've seen Matt.
It really is.
I've seen Matt fight on several occasions. Had a chance to announce several of his fights. Same thing with Slammin Sammy Rogers. I know. Had a chance to announce some of his fights. So I know these guys were good when I was watching them. And since some time has gone down the road, I'm excited to see how far they've come since the last time I watched them. And that's what I'm excited about a lot on this card, is because a lot of these guys, were fighting for XFI and fighting for Tribal, fighting for Black Eye, so a lot of these guys, I saw them as they were getting started. So now that I've been away from them for a while, now I'm ready to come back and see where they've progressed, see how far they've came. and I'm expecting some good things. I mean, fans out. I mean, I know there's hopefully there's a lot of fans out there listening. If you're not doing anything Saturday night, I mean, you definitely want to get to the Fort Smith Convention Center. And you were talking about the after party at Saki. I think that's the name of the place.
Yes, Saki Sushi and Martini Bar on Garrison Avenue.
Yeah. Gonna have the after fight party there. I will be at the after fight party once we get everything taken care of over at the convention center. So I'm just looking for a great time. You know, like I say, I spent 15 years in Fort Smith and practically grew up there, terrorizing Garrison Avenue. So I'm excited.
Now,
to be
I know what
getting
you're going
back
to be
down
doing on Garrison Avenue. When you hit Saki Sushi and Martini Bar, it sounds to me like you've never been there. So let me tell you what's going to happen when Greg Squirrel hits Saki Sushi and Martini Bar for this after party. When you see the women of Soars Hell Entertainment, Greg Squirrel, I mean, with that tuxedo you're going to have on, buddy, you're going to be checking out the ladies. And so I know that's where...
Actually, I'm throwing a little curve. I'm dealing with a little weight issue right now, so I'm not doing the tux.
You're not?
I'm not doing the tux, but I got a very nice brand new
T-shirt
suit from Dillard's. So, yeah, I'm doing the zebra print Speedo. Not.
Yes! So we got to get pictures of this. They're going to be all over Facebook, trending worldwide on Twitter. The squirrel and the Speedo.
No, but like I said, I got a beautiful brand new suit from Dillard's that I'm going to be wearing for the first time ever this Saturday night. Matter of fact, I just picked it up from the seamstress yesterday, so it's not even seen sunshine yet. So
all right. Well, it's going to get your moonshine once you get it on your ass. So we're going to see you in a nice brand new Dillard suit. Squirrel, man, we're going to wrap it up. I appreciate you coming on. I'm going to talk about a couple more key topics here, but do you have any shout-outs for anybody, friends, fans, family, anybody coming out on the 16th before we let you
go? Yeah, I want to give a big shout-out to Chris Lackey and the Old Timer Gang. That's some of the guys I went to high school with. We a couple of years ago, we caught back up at a high school reunion, and we've just been kind of keeping in touch since then. We branded ourselves the Old Timer Gang. So I want to give a big shout out to Chris Lackey and that crew. And, you know, basically I just want to give a big shout out to everybody in Fort Smith. I mean, Saturday night, if you're not doing anything, be at the Soars Hell at the Fort Smith Convention Center. If you do have something planned, cancel it, because you're not going to want to miss this show.
Excellent. Greg Squirrel, we appreciate you, man, and we'll talk to you this weekend.
Hey, appreciate it, Clint. Talk to you soon.
All right, man. Ladies and gentlemen, that is United States Martial Arts Hall of Famer Gregory Squirrel, a Fort Smith native of sorts, graduated from Fort Smith Northside, ring announcer extraordinaire, is one of my personal best friends. And he is going to be here on Saturday night. I don't know if he'll be here Friday night for the concert, but you'll definitely see him in the cage on Saturday night. He'll be doing the announcing, and we're talking about Soars Hell Entertainment. We've got the benefit for veterans, the Veterans Benefit Concert. That's going to be, we're going to have Brooke White and the Ritual, plus 357 is going to be there. That's on Friday, December 15th at the Fort Smith Convention Center. Doors open at 6:30 p.m. The concert begins at 7. If you need tickets, go to soarashell.com. Type it all in, one big word, soarashell.com. Or you can call 479-653-8554. You can call 479-251-0808. And then the following night, Saturday night, that's when the bread and butter hits, folks. We're going to put a little meat with the potatoes. Fort Smith Fight Night, December 16th. Same place, Fort Smith Convention Center, same time. Doors open at 6:30. Fights begin at 7. Right now, I don't know where we're at on ticket sales. I don't know how many tickets of each we have left. General admission is listed at $30. Ringside is listed at $50. VIP tables, I don't know if they're still available, but you can always go to soarashell.com and find out. There's a beautiful fight card here, along with the ladies at the after party, Saki Sushi and Martini Bar at the after fight party. We will have fight night drink specials, meet the fighters, and meet the women of Soars Hell Entertainment. Personally, I do not show up where there is alcohol, so I will not be at the after-fight party no matter how late I have business to tend to on Saturday. But you can be there. If you show up for the event, you're more than welcome to show up for the after-fight party at Saki on Saturday night. I want to thank everybody again for listening to the Fort Fights podcast. This is something that we threw together at the last minute, but you guys all know that when Clint Davis has a podcast, he knows what he's doing. And so, we like to get things done the right way, and we like to put a good show together. They've hit my music, so that means they're kicking me out of the studio again. That's what that always means. If you listen to the first of the show, we want to thank the band Solidify. They're going to be in Tulsa on December 30th. We've got a lot of information. Find them on Facebook at Solidify Band OK. Now we're going to take you out this week with a little bit of The Violet Hour. This song is called Lighter Fluid. My name is Clint Davis. This is the Fort Fights podcast, and we'll see you next time.
Strike a